Well, it's about time to take a moment for business. It's time to spill the beans and let our elected officials know what really drives our local and national economy. And for my friends in the United States, it's even a little bit for you. Recently, our two primary local levels of municipal government here, our city and our region, and for those of you in the United States, the region is really our county government, they both took sizable increases in property tax. The city, 3.6%, and the region, 2.98%. Now, one might say the city was worse than the region. Yes, in percentage, for sure. But they only account for about 30% of the total property tax bill, where the region accounts for about 50%. So as far as the dollar impact, no question the region took more. Now, our provincial government, and for my friends in the United States, that's our state government, has recently introduced a cap and trade system that is claiming to be the savior in reducing greenhouse gas emissions. Yes, January the 1st, gas for our cars went up by 5 cents a liter. A liter, folks, that would be 21 cents a gallon. Oh, so thankful for the metric measurement system that allows government to make these increases look like pennies when, in reality, they're much more than that. But let's get to my real message. And in a week, the U.S. government will inaugurate a new president. Donald J. Trump will become the 45th president of the United States. And thanks to reality TV and 24/7 news programming, well, we all pretty much know Mr. Trump and his rise to political popularity. And we know why or how he got elected. He spoke to Middle America. He reinforced the job losses from manufacturing that made their way to jurisdictions where wages were lower and regulations were much less stringent. He spoke the speak heard in every coffee shop from Pennsylvania to Arizona and Wisconsin to the Keys in Florida. He was proclaimed to be the one who was on the side of working America. So let's look at the net effect of that. The effect of some of these job losses. Yes, it's big when a car company shuts down and moves to Mexico. 3,000 or more jobs lost in one fell swoop. Ouch. But remember, that is only the assembly portion of the car. It's probably really less than 25% of all that goes into making an automobile. You see, there are 30,000 parts that make up most vehicles on the road today, right down to the screws that hold it all together. The vast majority, in fact, almost all of those 30,000 parts are made in small to medium-sized businesses all over North America, employing tens of thousands of people. In virtually every case, those suppliers will continue to make, build, and create those parts and supply that assembly plant no matter where it is, Mexico or otherwise. We tend to focus on those mega job providers, those massive plants with a few thousand workers. And we should care about them for sure. The problem is we seem to put all of our efforts and concerns into them. Politicians and the media love those big, bad stories, but it makes us forget about the real heroes, the real champions of jobs, the real creators of a better economy. The millions of small businesses that do all the heavy lifting in our local communities, who are banging out millions upon millions of small things that are used everywhere in the world. It barely makes the news when a small plant of 80 people closes their doors, but I know many of them. And who do they work for? Well, they are making the power window switches and the knobs and the clips, the radiator caps and the gas caps, the bolts that hold the seat belts in, and the corporate emblem that's in the middle of your steering wheel. They do it all, 80 people at a time. For every one car plant with a few thousand employees, there are tens of thousands making those 30,000 parts the employees have to assemble. Here's some interesting information. There are over 28 million small businesses in the United States. Well, there's about 1.1 million here in Canada. Those small businesses in the United States employ 55% of all working Americans, and in Canada, 69% of all working Canadians. And over the course of the years, big businesses in the United States have eliminated 4 million manufacturing jobs. But small businesses have created over 8 million new jobs in that same time period. The U.S. statistics exclude franchise small businesses like your fast food restaurants and etc. And if you include them in the equation, your numbers in the United States will probably look just like ours. 90% of all employer businesses in Canada are small businesses. They employ nearly 70% of all working Canadians. They create 77% of all new jobs in the country. They're your neighbors, your family, your friends who work in small businesses. Your kids get summer jobs in small businesses. They are the most important element in all our communities' economic matrices. And they are the most ignored. Everyone is worried about putting protections in place for the 2% of businesses, but nothing for the 98%. Donald Trump is proposing to implement a border adjustment tax. Essentially, to make it easy to understand, Mr. Trump will simply tax U.S. companies on any goods they import into the U.S., giving U.S. companies an incentive to buy American because there would be no tax on those goods purchased within the U.S. Sounds good to that middle America, but is it really? Global trade is a key driver in every country's economy, and I'm certain my American colleagues don't know that 37 out of 50 U.S. states have Canada as their number one trading partner. $2 billion a day crosses the border every single day. Canadians buy over $295 billion of goods from the United States every year, but Americans only buy $280 billion in goods from us here in Canada. So it's reasonable to assume that if Donald Trump taxes Canadian goods going to the U.S., that Canada won't do the same? Maybe much of that $295 billion we spend in the U.S. will be lost. And so what you think you gain through this, you actually lose. I should point to the fact, too, that with Canada, the United States has a trade surplus. And I'm sure that my American colleagues also don't know that there are over 7 million Americans working in jobs that depend on trade between Canada and the U.S. That's just their own job security. Ensuring that the Canadian-U.S. trade stays strong is job protection for the U.S. in very large numbers. Yes, every national government, every country around the world should do what it can to protect those few thousand jobs when a big employer announces it's leaving for greener production pastures. But looking inward with respects to trade could cost many more thousands of jobs than that. To suggest for 1 minute that the U.S. economy will benefit by stiffening its trade relations is cutting off your nose to spite your face. Opening up trade opportunities allows those millions of small businesses to trade freely outside their borders, opens up new markets, magnifies the customer base, simply put, creates new and exciting opportunities for everyone. We all make more than we can consume as a country. We need others to buy from us. We make more stuff than we need. And we need others to sell to us as well. But in a global economy where you can be anywhere else in this world by tomorrow morning, open trade is vital. It is the only thing that will grow the economy, grow employment, and build wealth. And if you want to solve the world's problems, well, you need to get off your high horse and support initiatives that actually build wealth. Government needs your money, and it is only through business being successful that they can get your money. Small businesses need our governments to do two things. Consider them when they're building laws for trade and make sure that they are not building barriers. Looking inward is ridiculous. It's not supporting middle American or middle Canada. It's supporting the fears globalization has embedded in us all. And that is not a good reason to change. And last but not least, taxation must be mitigated. More tax on businesses, more cost to businesses will just diminish their opportunity to create employment, keep those employed that are already working, and invest in building their businesses. Changing legislation for small businesses in both countries should be priority number one. Small businesses will give philanthropically to their communities' charities. They will invest in their hometowns. They are eager to grow and make more jobs locally, and they are the economic spirit of our communities. Cutting them off, making it harder for them, hurting their chances to prosper, trade, and build their businesses will only hurt people in our communities. And of course, politicians. Small business is too big and too important to ignore. If all governments don't start paying a little more attention, you can't reach your goals. You need us to get you there. I'm Greg DeRocher, and that's a moment for small business.